Good afternoon, and welcome to Expose Yourself to Art, a show that explores the creative process by inviting artists to come on our show and chat with us about their life and their work. My name is David Schrader, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co host, Linda Scheller. Come on in, Linda. Hi.
Hi, David.
It's
How
been a
are you?
month, it's been a
It
while.
it has been such a month.
Right. So tell me about it. Yeah, you've had quite a trip, quite a summer.
I purchased an Amtrak 30-day US rail pass, and so I just got on the California Zephyr. I went to Kansas City for a few days where I met up with my high school voice teacher and music theory and appreciation teacher, and they showed me around. Then I went to New York City and stayed with a friend that I met in kindergarten. So we've been
Oh,
friends for
geez.
60 years. And we spent 5 days tooling around the city, lots of nice art museums, and then up to Schenectady, where I grew up, and then over to New Hampshire, where my brother and mother are, and my sister-in-law. And then on the way back, stopped in South Bend, Indiana. And I went to the Studebaker Museum at last.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had a blast.
Yeah. So where did that interest come in?
The
Studebakers.
Studebaker?
Yeah.
Well, I went to a party in the Detroit area, and I was talking with someone who was working for one of the major car manufacturers, and I'd seen a couple of Studebakers because Modesto has so many glorious classic cars. I think it was actually the owner of Moab who had just a gorgeous Studebaker.
Ah,
And so that captivated me. And then I just wanted to know more about the history. They started out just producing wagons and then carriages. And their first horseless carriages had right-hand drive and they were electric. So anyway, it was
really?
fascinating.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and they were very much a work of art,
Mm-hmm.
and though they are no longer. Anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of art, oh, by the way, we're on at a different time right now. Any thoughts about that? We're on Wednesday afternoons instead of Sunday afternoon, so I hope people are following us. So, anyway,
Yeah.
so to get on, today we have a very special show. Mistlin Gallery has an exhibition every fall called the Autumn Art Festival. And to tell us more about this, why don't we bring on our first guest, Tony Pooler, and he can kind of explain how all of this works and how it came about. Tony, are you there? Come
I
on
am
in.
here.
All
The Autumn
right.
Art Festival is different than most of our other exhibits in as much as where in other exhibits we take electronic images from the people who bring art in, or we have a regular sign up for our membership. In this case, it's open to our members, but they physically bring in the artwork that they want to see for judging, and the jurying takes place. And in this case, I think we had almost 300 entries, and we ended up with 117 uh, actual show pieces in the show. These are the best 117 of all the ones that were submitted. So that's the jurying process, and it's really kind of an interesting thing. The jurors, the judges sit there with little paddles with numbers on them, and they keep score that way. So that this is a unique show.
Yeah, very much, very different from some of the other shows that we put on at Mistlin. But a person who was part of this uniqueness was one of the judges who has graciously agreed to come on the show with us. I look forward to this because one of the things that always happens after a judge show is everyone walks around and second guesses the judge and saying, what were they thinking? you know so anyway, maybe we'll get a chance to find out what they were thinking. Let's bring her, Shirley Green. Let's bring her on. And hi, Shirley.
Hi.
Hi. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what it was like to be a judge in this unique show.
Well, it was very fun.
Yeah.
I feel that I'm somewhat qualified to judge because I have judged on numerous other groups before. And I have been in the art world for as long as I can remember, probably more on the professional side for the last maybe 25 years of my really old life.
Wow.
But mostly I'm a watercolorist, but I was also a hot glass artist for 25 years. And I have done some oil painting, not really photography, but ceramics. I mean, as an artist, most artists say to themselves, "Ooh, I can do that," and they want to play with it, right?
Right.
So I have a lot of varied experience, but I pretty much settled on watercolor for the last 20 years. So that's my forte at this point.
One of the things that occurred to me was when I was communicating with you was your email address. Shirley loves beads.
Oh, that's really old because I was a glass bead artist. I would make little miniature like paperweights, and then I would turn them into gallery pieces. At one point, I was in Carmel in a gallery, which is no longer there. And I've done a lot of shows. I was an exhibiting member for ACGA, which is Association of Clay and Glass Artists, primarily in California. I did that for a really long time. And then I started dabbling in watercolor with my mother's encouragement, and realized that I really love it and became good enough to be able to teach. So I've been teaching watercolor for about 15 years now.
Okay. And I understand you have a connection with Modesto, or you're related to one of our members. Is that
Yes,
true?
I am.
Yeah.
Fonzie Bates is my aunt. She was my mother's sister. And she pulled me into your group quite a few years ago. And originally I would enter, and I've won several awards with your past shows. But as my experience grew and I became signature members in several different groups, she encouraged me to, she felt I was qualified to be a judge. So I have judged other shows than this one.
So one last question before we move on to the actual pictures. What's your take on this kind of procedure to develop a show like this? It's almost a throwback to older times when you sit in front of the pieces of art and make your judgment as opposed to looking at them online. Do you have any thoughts or comments about that process?
I truly believe that to judge, or even you have to see the piece in person. A photograph most often does not do any piece justice. That's my personal opinion. So I'm very happy that you're doing this in person.
Great. There you go, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we're here to celebrate the winners of this event, the Autumn Art Festival. And so let's start. We actually have some of the winners as guests on the show, so we can have a little discussion about what they thought they were doing, and hear from the judge about what she thought they were doing, or something like that. Okay, so where are we going to start here? Oh, okay. There's our poster for the Autumn Art Festival, and I believe, the next picture is, maybe I can explain some of this. The Autumn Art Festival is usually one of our fundraising events for the year, and we have a big gala. And because of COVID, we had to cancel the gala. So instead of that, they're going to create an online auction. And I believe this is a picture of some of the things that are in the auction. And Linda Noel, I don't know if you can join us or you just want your voice to come in here. can you explain a little bit about the auction?
Oh, there I am.
There you are.
Yeah, so our online auction is, gosh, more than 30 pieces of art. There's a couple of gift baskets and a few other items that that we've organized, and all the bidding is going to be done online. So you can go on our website and find that link. It's 32auctions.com/CCAA Gala. But yeah, so we set up all the pieces here in the gallery, just so people could see them in person instead of looking at tiny pictures on the computer. And they will go through, the auction goes through September 25th.
Okay, thank you. So what do people have to do to link up? Did you say that?
32auctions.com/CCAA Gala. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Say that again slowly in case somebody's trying to write this down. 32.
It's probably easiest just to go to our website at CCAA Gala or CCAAgallery.org.
Okay.
And the link is on our front page.
Okay. Wonderful.
And maybe, Linda, you could put it in the comments too, and that way people could read it.
I will do that. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay. So let's get to the process at hand. So let's start. Okay. So we're starting with what?
This
Water
is
media.
This is water media. This is
Okay.
Virginia White farm all tractor, the first prize.
Do we have Linda online? Has she been able to check back in so we can ask her about this?
David, you have me. Here I am.
There you
Okay. Talk about your tractor, Virginia.
All right. I will. I hope I don't cut back out. This is transparent watercolors, and I did this during the sheltering at home time last summer, and it's a studio painting, but I took a photograph of this tractor many years ago, and I had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to paint it. And so I'm last summer to do this. And so I have a special technique I use, and I use masking tape to get my straight lines. I use a liquid block.
Uh-huh. Okay, so she seemed to have been muted out here. Shirley, you're a watercolorist. What can you say about this picture? She gave it her first prize.
I enjoyed this painting very much. I felt it was a lovely watercolor of a tractor, and it reminded me of the Valley's farm community that works so hard in the past.
Sorry about that. So if you'd like, do you want, did you want me to continue?
Finish, or do you let her finish? I'll start over.
You want me to continue?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to tell you that, okay. I take a long time drawing ahead of time and thinking ahead, saving out the lights and planning it. So it's not something that happens really quick, like some quick watercolors. It's a time consuming process to think about what I'm seeing, the lights and darks. And I like to do a backlight, like you see here with the light coming from the back with the shadow in the front. That always gives you some drama and some more emotional feeling about the painting.
Okay, so Shirley, now
So I start with, as watercolorists do, you start with the lights and you paint more of all the lights, and then you go to darker and darker and darker as you go along. And so that's why you get that contrast between, makes it look three-dimensional.
Okay. So let's hear what the judge had to say about this.
So I'll repeat what I was saying. I thought it was a very lovely watercolor, and it reminded me of the Valley's farm community. that works so hard. I liked her subtle palette, and I thought it was very well painted. And as a watercolorist myself, I recognized her talent.
Very nice. Okay. So,
Very good. Thank you for that.
anyone else have a comment about this picture?
I like the fact that this is a farm implement and an older one at that, and it's not what you might expect looking at a watercolor. I'm used to, stormy seas and flowers, and so this is just refreshing, and as you said, Shirley, a really lovely homage to the agricultural community that we're a part of.
Yeah. Okay. So, if no other comments, let's move on to second place.
This is an acrylic
Uh-huh.
by Nicole Slater, and it's a big piece. You may wonder, now we have made the transition from transparent watercolor to acrylic, which is a water media, but it appears more like an oil piece than the transparent watercolor that Virginia had. This piece is roughly 5 feet by 6 feet, and it is a very bold statement. And unlike Virginia, who plans her painting very methodically, there's a lot of emotion in this, and you can see how Nicole Slater builds her painting based on that activity.
So Shirley, what was your take on this? What attracted you to this?
Okay, the first time I saw it, I thought, wow, this is so fun and powerful, and it's painted in a very fun, painterly style. I could picture her listening to some really fun music that she enjoyed and just painting along, and it just really made me enjoy this very busy, colorful painting with so much life in it.
Mm-hmm. She's a very spontaneous painter, if you've ever seen her work.
Yes.
So, yes.
Don't you think she could have painted it listening to music?
Yes, absolutely.
It looks like she did, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before COVID hit, she was actually going to work with us on attending one of our cabarets and doing paintings while the music's going on. So you nailed it.
Good.
Yeah. Any other comments? No. Okay, what's next here?
This is a striking watercolor by Marilyn Ware, and it is Marilyn is a very realistic watercolorist. It almost looks like a photograph, except the transparent watercolor has a unique ability to show the paper and behind the transparent layer of paint. It just pops out at you. This is just a terrific statement on a very realistic looking painting.
So Shirley.
Well, it looks like Yosemite falls in the spring to me when the water is just really flowing down that mountain. I can almost hear the water crashing. I mean, a lot of oh wait.
Hello? There we go. Okay. Okay, go ahead. I think someone's phone rang.
I said I could almost hear the water crashing down, and I really like the attention and detail that she put in the rocks. I've done a lot of rocks in my life, and she did a very nice job shading. And if you have the time to actually look closely to this one, you can see the amount of effort that was put into this detail. It's quite nice. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I'm impressed by the variety of techniques and finished products that come out of something called a water media here. Between the,
Oh, wow.
This photo really doesn't do it justice. I mean, if you can really hone in, I don't know if you can hone in on it, but if you see the all the shading of every little.
Right. They're all there.
Yeah, a lot of detail.
A lot of detail. Yeah.
Any other
Good
comments?
job.
Okay.
Well, that's remarkable. It's so beautiful.
It is. It's very striking. It pops out when you're looking at it in the gallery. Very much so. Okay, so let's move on to the winners in the oil painting. Oh, look at that. Hey, let's bring in the artist. She's with us today, Nancy Hahn. There she is. Hi, Nancy. Can we hear you? Are you there?
Yeah. Now you can, right?
No, I can't. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So Nancy, tell us a little bit about yourself and this picture.
Okay. Well, I've been painting in oils mostly for the last, I don't know how many years, but before that I really started out in watercolor. It was my first love, but it was so hard. It was so frustrating most of the time that I defected and went to oil and found that I could do a lot of things with that. If I didn't like it, I could scrape it off or white over it or something. So I was really happy with oils. Mostly what I was painting at the time were still lifes, which were okay, but they didn't bring that much joy to paint a pepper. I painted enough peppers to last a lifetime. But I painted a few dogs and gave them as gifts. And I found that very gratifying because of the joy that it brought to the one who got the painting. And so one day, Brett and I paint together on Fridays and Saturdays, and I announced to him that I'm only going to paint what I like, dogs. So from that point on, that's pretty much what I painted were dogs. And I love dogs. I grew up with dogs. And so I know what a dog looks like. But the first thing I paint really is their eyes. I figure if I can get the eyes, I've got the emotion of the animal. And in this particular picture the dogs belong to a friend of mine who she had just opened a mobile dog grooming. And I asked her if I could paint the picture and she said, sure, go ahead. And I titled it Board of Directors. And the reason for that is that's how she would refer to her dogs. She would make an announcement for her business and she said, the Board of Directors have decided such and such. So I thought it was a great title for the piece.
Yeah. Thanks for telling us about the title. That was one thing that struck me. Yeah, having dogs, yeah, she's absolutely right. Board of Directors.
Yes, they do kind of rule the place.
Yeah. So, Shirley, what do you think of this? Obviously, you
Well,
got a first
I
prize.
thought it was a perfect pet portrait of 3 happy dogs. And she obviously knows her subject. And I love the composition of, it's just not, a dog looking straight at you or off to the side. She really caught their personalities. And I kept being drawn to this painting. I'm like, I love this painting. And I'm not really a dog person, but I just love this painting. So I kept saying to the other judge, I said, this is a really, really good painting. And I think it deserves high points. So it ended up getting the highest points, obviously, because it got first. You really caught the personality of the dogs, and I really appreciate that. It's just not, it's not boring. It's exciting. I like it.
So does the other person in the Hahn household have anything to say about this painting?
Well, all I know is people like their dogs a lot more than they like their people, and I paint people. And so she's getting commissions right and left, and I'm sitting there wondering, what's going on. So no, I'm excited for Nancy because it really, she struggled with watercolor because of the lack of control. And this going to oil has given her a real freedom to do. And like right now, she's doing a horse, and it's turning out fabulous because she's using all the same principles, but it really is about emotion. And I think she's a master, and she's also a master of color. I don't paint one painting without asking her, how do you make this color? You know, so she really is good. And also painting all in black and white is tough. It's tough to make it work. And I think she does a great job.
Color is an issue. You're so limited. You've got black, white, brown dogs. How do you bring life into those colors? And so I have to really look for the highlights.
And the tongue.
Yeah, and that light, easy brushstroke really adds a lot of character and life to the animals too.
Yes, wonderful.
Three happy dogs.
Yeah. Any other comments here? Okay. So number 2, what do we have next? Oh, let's leave them on unless they don't want to be. The Hans, they can comment on other things, other oils if they would like.
This is an oil by Marilyn Ware. As you may recall, she was the artist who did that stunning watercolor of Yosemite. This is a small piece, maybe 8 by 10. And the story here is in the color and light that comes from this picture. The orange up there is probably ice plant that covers the rocks at this in seaside locations, and then that deep turquoise as a contrast really brings out the color. And then in between, you've got these wonderful light and textures of the rocks. So this I'm sure I'm waiting for Shirley to tell us what caught her eye on this, but this is a lovely painting.
Shirley?
It's a very lovely. I love the Carmel area and Pacific Coast. I love China Cove. I've actually painted it myself. I think it's a favorite spot for a lot of painters. You will see them out there doing plein air. I'm a studio painter myself, but I loved her colors, and the composition was really well done, and she used color the rocks could be rather boring if it was just rocks and some ice plant dripping down it. But her choice of colors for me was made it exciting, and you wanted to look at it. You actually wanted to go into that little secret beach and maybe skinny dip, I don't know, or swim anyway. But I know that water's cold, so I don't think anybody does that. But yeah, I really love the colors, and her approach to painting the rocks was nice, and I liked her shading and her depth of the crevasses, and it was just very nice. Good job.
Wonderful. Any other comments here? Okay.
This sensitive portrait is by Jack Morris. It's called Lady in Red. And Jack hosts our Wednesday evening live model painting sessions. And, he has a tremendous amount of experience from that. And that just shows through in this really delicate and sensitive portrait.
Well, my turn?
Yes, please.
I really was drawn to this one also. I looked at this and I saw her pensive look made me want to know, what is she looking at? Is she leaving through that red door? What's going on there? I'm probably reading too much into this, but I kind of like to put a story to some of the paintings that I see, especially when it's got a portrait or a person in it and it's not exactly clear. So I loved the use of the muted colors, but then popping the red background made the composition complete for me. I really enjoyed it very much.
Mhm.
So
I liked hearing about you saying, you know, what's going on, or is there a story? That's one of the things I harp on a lot, which is, do you have something to say other than just painting a pretty picture?
yeah, it wasn't just a portrait, you know,
Right.
to me. It was more interesting because she's not just looking at the artist while she gets her portrait done. She's got something on her mind.
Yes. Wonderful. So, anything else? Any other comments from? Okay. If not, this was
Speaking of stories,
yes, honorable mention. Yes.
this is an honorable mention, and this is it's called The Raconteur by Howard Reese. Now, Howard Reese is an old master, and he paints with the quality of an old master in this one. As you can see, if you get in a little closer, the light from the window highlights the face of just about every person in the picture. It just amazing use of light to create the patterns that exist in this painting. Shirley?
Well, the thing that you notice looking at it in person is, oh my goodness, look at all that detail. Um, the backlighting does accent the silhouette of all the pieces, and I do like that. But you just kind of want to look at every little nuance of the painting because there's just so much to take in. And it was very, very well painted and kind of a peek into the past of a day gone by, I think. So it was something that we didn't want to ignore. It was very well done.
Yes, it reminded me of, as Tony said, an old master painting. I mean, it's
Yes.
the style and the composition is something out of the past, and it's
It's kind
extremely
of a
well
peek into
done.
the past. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And where do we go next? Oh my goodness. We're getting into graphics and photography. So we don't have, Anna chose not to be with us today. Anna's a little bit shy sometimes, unless you know her. Anyway, this is one of her multiple winners. She's a constant winner in the area of photography and graphics. So Tony, what can you say about Anna?
Anna uses a process called what that she calls photo fusion. She'll take a photographic image and she'll add color to it. She'll overlay it. Till she gets just what she wants in terms of color and composition. She does a lot of things with animals, either wild ones or domestic animals. She's kind of a cat person, so you'll see a lot of cat paintings. But she also does the same kind of process with florals, and she comes out with just some wonderful colors. So this is a digital. This is done digitally and then printed.
Right. Surely, I know you didn't have
The other judge and I walked by this piece, and how could you ignore it? You just can't. It just says, wow, look at me. I'm so colorful. And oh, and by the way, take a look at all what's going on, the detail of the birds flying in the air. It was very interesting. And I think that for me, the highlight of this piece is the use of her color. Very dramatic and very eye-catching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has her own unique style. I've known her for a number of years, and I was always amazed that she could take a picture of a flower and take one petal and create a whole bouquet with different colors, different shading, different, and that's kind of her process. And she is, as I said, a constant winner. She's probably has more ribbons than anyone else in the gallery. So
she's got a very good imagination.
yeah. So any other comments about about this? What's your take on it? No? Okay. So moving on, we have a second place winner here in graphics. There it is.
This is a photograph by John Wynn called Coastal Range Spring. Some people, artists paint with their brushes, and John is one of these guys who paints with his camera. The texture of the floral and the texture of the rock, the blend with the mist coming in from the top. He probably sat in that spot waiting for the light to get just right before he took his picture. He's a very patient photographer. Shirley, go ahead.
Well, it's a very simplistic photograph, but it kind of pulls you in. You're like, wow, that is such a cool rock. Nature gives us some very fun and unusual things to look at, and he obviously noticed this rock and had to take a photo of it and show everybody else. And then he had fun with the I'm assuming, I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming that he introduced the yellow in there to almost make it pop a little bit more than it would have had he not done that.
Yeah, possibly.
Yes. Okay. Next, what do we have? I recognize that. Tony, go ahead. I dare you say something about this guy.
This is third place by David Schrader, and it's called Fall Colors. I talked about David is another photographer that paints with his eyes and his camera. This is the color selection and the location selection all take a great deal of time and a mastery of his craft. And I know that David pays a lot of attention to the printing process too. So he works very hard to bring out just what he wants in terms of color and composition. How about that, Dave?
That's wonderful, Tony. Okay. Better than my approach, Anyway, I can say something about this before we get the judge's view. This is an unusual picture for me. I tend to have more contrast, more. This is very muted for me. It's something I don't usually do. In fact, when I took this picture several years ago, I never looked at it again. It's from Virginia, back east, so the fall colors are a little bit different. But then as I came across it recently, and I thought, oh, there's a nice moodiness to this. It's much softer and more pastel than anything I usually do. So I entered it with very little expectations. It's like, yeah, could be good, could be rejected even, because it's something that I'm not used to. It's something very different for me. So I don't know if you have any comments, Shirley, or you recall
Well, you just said everything I was going to say. I mean, no, I really enjoyed this piece. It was just so tranquil, and it kind of brings you into nature in just a soft and peaceful way. And as I said, my father was a professional photographer before he had to get a serious job and raise 3 girls. But no, it's very lovely. I just love can almost hear a couple of birds or an owl hooting in the background or something. And I just, maybe some red-winged blackbirds singing in the rushes there. I really enjoy this piece. I kind of like to, when I see photographs, I kind of like to think of myself as standing there, and not only what I'm seeing, but what am I hearing? What the whole thing that nature would be giving you, for the feeling. And I think that's what I'd like to hear the red-winged blackbirds singing down there. Were they? Let me know.
Okay.
May I say that it's gorgeous, David, and I love the contrast between the brilliant and yet in the background muted colors, and then there's this just black water in the foreground. And I particularly like the tree on the left, this white sort of ghostly tree. It's exquisite.
Thank you very, very,
Very
much.
nice.
Thank you. Okay, so we have some more in this category. We have a honorable mention.
This honorable mention piece is by William Harris. And William is a ninja photographer. He goes every place with his camera, and he'll take pictures of just about anything. He has wonderful. In fact, in the gallery, there's one that was accepted, but not one didn't win a prize. It's a great black and white of a man and his dog, but he will also look at things like this, things that aren't a particular scene, and he'll see art in it. So he'll take that picture and make us enjoy it as well.
He has a whole collection of what he calls found abstracts, and this is one of them. And you're right about being a ninja photographer. He blends in with the surroundings. People don't know he's there. He's extremely quiet, and he does amazing street photography because of that. You don't even know that he's snapping pictures. He's just kind of sliding through life. So anyway, Shirley, do you have a reaction to this?
I realize this is a photograph, but it's also an abstract painting to me too. I kind of want to see what's behind that crackled glass. I keep looking at it, and I looked at it there. Is there a face? What is that behind there? And so it really draws your eye in there. But I like the soft edges that are also mixed in with the hard edges, and that glass is always crackled glass is always drawn me in, because I kind of want to see what's behind there. But I really like this piece, the composition of the shapes, again, in an abstract manner. If this was an abstract painting, I would have given it an award also, not just as a.
He will be pleased to hear that. Okay. So moving on.
This is an interesting photograph. Larry Liu is the photographer, and this is titled "White Ibis in Flight." Now, Larry goes out first thing in the morning or even at dark, before the sun comes up, to set up, and he's got this huge photographic telephoto lenses and everything like this. So he has to use a tripod, and then he will just wait for the shot, and you can tell because of the telephoto effect, you have the subject that is in sharp focus, but the background is in very soft focus, and that's a result of the telephoto process.
Yeah, he's an amazing technician. He's a retired engineer, so he takes his photography very seriously at a technical level. So, Shirley, what's your take on this?
I just really like the composition of the painting. It looked to me, now I could be wrong about this, but it looked to me like he had taken numerous shots of these birds flying and overlaid them somehow in a process that I don't understand. But whether he did or not, I just really do love the composition, and I like the fact that he muted it but gave a little hint of that beautiful, almost opalescent green in there. It draws you in. It draws you in.
Very, very nice. Yes. Okay. We're into a different category here. Mixed media. Oh, this is Marilyn Zinner. Can we bring Marilyn in? Marilyn's with us today. Hello.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us about this work of art.
Well,
that one.
I have to say that my art started with recycling because I'm always picking up things off the ground and whatever nature provides, and I'm just an intuitive artist. In other words, I don't plan to do anything. I just see things and then I see what they'll do. And that's kind of what happened with this barnyard boss. He just kind of fell off my hand, actually. I had that, like I say, that painting. I found those torn pieces. I go, what am I going to do with all these pieces? And then I thought, oh, wait a minute. So that's kind of my process through everything, through all my art. And it's all mixed media. I very rarely paint. I do a lot of mosaics, but yeah, my favorite is the mixed media.
So how long have you been doing this? Have you been doing this your whole life, or is this something new? Or
About the last 40 years or 40 years.
just 40 years. My goodness.
Yeah.
A youngster in the field.
And I taught for a while, which was my master's is in arts and consciousness, which was showing us how art makes us conscious of our culture, who we are, our emotions, our spiritual lives, that kind of thing. So in teaching, I always felt that when you sit down to do a piece, it's a sacred place. It's a sacred place for your soul to express itself. And that seems kind of silly about a rooster, but but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Wonderful. So when you taught, what did you teach? Did this enter into your teaching, or?
Well, I taught charter school kids because they could take on, and so it was like mostly individual. The only time there were more than one is if they were from the same family. And I taught painting, and we did everything. You know, we did everything that kids like to do, and yeah, I did that for about 10 years, and then now I'm retired and trying to do my own things.
Well, I hope we have time to speak more about art and consciousness. I think sounds like a fascinating subject.
It really was. Yeah. It was wonderful.
Is there anything special you can tell us about this piece?
About why you like chickens?
Oh well, yeah. I have a big deal with chickens. I love chickens. Okay. I just had to sell my house where I had chickens, and the idea of these brown and white, black and white chickens against the green grass, it just took my heart away every day. So I do love chickens. And roosters, on the other hand, they can be quite. You need patience with roosters.
So Linda Scheller, do you have chickens on your place? I know you have.
Oh, not currently, but actually I was just in a feed and seed, and I did inquire about chicks. She said they start getting them in March. I like silkies and banties, and I just might do that again. I love chickens. They're such characters.
Wonderful, and all they do is give. They give, and you give them all the scraps, which is another form of recycling. And then they just give you an egg every day. Pretty wonderful.
So Shirley, what drove you to this?
Well, I really was impressed with the intricacy of this collage piece. I've done some collage, but nothing this fussy and intense. I love the fact that I wasn't sure if the tail feathers were watercolor, torn paper, or acrylic, or whatever they were, but they were obviously pieces of painted paper that she had torn for the feathers. And I love the colorfulness of that because the rooster was black, but every detail was attended to in this collage. And I have a lot of respect for the patience that collage artists have. I really liked it a lot. So
Okay.
good job.
Thank you.
Yes, very interesting, unique piece. Okay, so what do we have next?
This is a really interesting piece by Jewel Rodriguez. It's called The Giving Tree. And it's a combination of acrylic painting and a collage made of floral petals. It's all preserved under a coat of clear resin to give it a real amount of depth and finish. Just an amazing piece. So I'd like to hear Shirley's take on that.
Well, I saw this and it was so different. You know, I just had never seen anything like this, but I don't see a lot of mixed media. I belong to Society of Western Artists that has been around for, I think, 75 years. And our gallery doesn't really do mixed media like this. It's more like if you used pen and ink and oil and watercolor, you know, nothing of this magnitude. And it looked to me like a modern day Madonna, possibly. Or was it just the young mother's love for her baby? I wasn't really sure, but the flowers I felt reminded me of new life and beauty. And it was just it kind of just gave the feeling of love. There was love here. And of course we all need love. So I was drawn to that.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. I'll keep us going here. Next is a very unique piece. Acrylic. There we go.
This is a fairly large piece, and it's a diptych, meaning it's in two pieces. And it's by Cheryl Martin. It's called A Miner's Dream. And Cheryl uses poured resin, gold leaf, and gold sprinkles. And boy, she creates a mother load of color and texture. This this one is really a unique piece.
Shirley.
Initially, you want me to talk?
Yes, yes.
Okay. This was huge. And I thought initially, and I think Tony clarified this to me, I thought it was some sort of natural stone that they had cut in half and then decorated with gold paint. So I was like, oh, wow. And then he's like, oh, no, that's not what was done at all. This was meticulously poured in layers and formed. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what a creative process. And I totally reevaluated my thinking, my initial thoughts on it. And I thought, wow, that would be really impressive in a really nice hotel lobby, or somebody who had a really big house that needed a showstopper in their foyer or whatever. So it definitely got the other judge of my attention.
It's very geode-like, almost like somebody.
Very, yeah, it looks like a big giant geode.
Yeah,
It's very unique. It's a real eye capture.
Yeah.
Right. Very modern.
Unique, very unique piece.
It's a very modern piece. Modern
Any other
art.
comments? Okay, move on to another category here. So, hi Tammy.
Hi.
Jo. Nice of you to join us. Very nice piece here. Congratulations on your first place win. So what can you tell us a little bit about yourself. You call yourself a potter.
Yes, well, I began my journey pretty much 10 years ago. I wanted to learn how to throw on the pottery wheel because I was prescribed finding a hobby. And so I thought, okay, because I tended to be a little bit of a workaholic. So I decided that I would conquer the anxiety that I was having at the time and I decided I'm going to do clay. I worked at the Egyptian Museum and when I was 17, and I loved the pottery and always wanted to try. So I started making a cup a day for a year on YouTube every single day to learn how to throw on the wheel, because I couldn't get myself to go to any classes or anything at that time. And so ever since then, I've been sharing my successes and failures on YouTube, and then learning as much as I can about clay. So this right here is my, in a sense, strangely, my 10-year anniversary switch to doing more hand building. And I was so excited about this piece, to be honest with you, because it starts out as a complete spontaneous surprise. And then as I went along, this has been fired in the kiln, which means when I put it in the kiln, the color is permanent on there. There's layers and layers of color, and it's been fired probably about 4 times with different layers, and it's changed personalities as it went along. Clay to me is a metaphor for our life. You know, sometimes you go through the fire, sometimes everything's beautiful, sometimes it's a disaster. And this is, in a way, a representation of that thought process, because life's a carnival, and sometimes there's ups and sometimes there's downs, and sometimes you love it. So, but what I decided I wanted to do with this, on the back of that box, as an inspiration would come to me, I would write it in the back in underglaze, and then when I'd fire it, the thought's permanently there. So on the back of that, I didn't take a picture of it, so I don't remember all the little notes I made, but all my notes are on the back of that little piece right there. So
Interesting.
Very unique piece. So
Very
what do you think,
unique.
Shirley?
Well, would you like to hear my interpretation of this before I
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Your
Absolutely.
interpretation of this is, very, interesting to me. But okay, from an outsider looking in, I was into ceramics for a few years myself, so I appreciate this is, I'm assuming, slab work pieced together. Is that correct? Okay.
It's pieces, yes.
Okay. So, okay, I'm just going to kind of read you, because I wrote a lot on your piece. I thought of this as wall candy. Your eyes have so much to take in, and I wasn't really sure how to, I didn't really look at it that close initially. I just knew that it was fun and I really liked it. But then I started reading what you wrote and your little arrows and everything. And so what I interpreted was that it was kind of it was love. You have the 2 zygotes, or whatever they're called, the little eggs that are totally different. Like one could be a man, one could be a woman. And then you have ups and downs in life. You have courage, and you have a very crazy patchwork journey ahead of you when you're together with somebody. So that's what I interpreted this piece.
Lovely.
So I don't know if that touches base with anything you ever thought of on this piece, but that's how I looked at it when I saw start here and go up.
The
go
love
down.
part, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You did.
So she can send you a bill for her psychological interpretation here.
Am I all
don't know
right?
what she charged us.
No, I thought it was a really fun piece, but then I realized it wasn't just a fun piece. There was a message here. So I like that.
Well, thank you.
So before we move on, I need to say that, we schedule these programs for an hour, and the hour's about up, but we're not on network, so we don't have to worry about time. So we will continue until we finish this process. It's an exciting, it's a good, very interesting things are coming out of this. So don't worry about the time. So next
I might have to answer the phone at 5:30 if we're not done by then.
Oh no, we're going to be through by then.
Okay.
We're going to be through by then. We only have a few more to go. Okay.
Very good.
So
This is Spotty the Dog by Kingsbury. This is a mosaic piece, And it looks as though Karen broke every dish in the cupboard to make this little mosaic dog. But we know from watching her in action that she meticulously cut and shaped and placed each piece to get this this little playful dog completed.
So what did you think, Shirley, when you saw this?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, another dog winner here.
Well, I happen to have met Karen some time ago, and she is just a fun-loving, whimsical person who loves her art, and it really reflects in her pieces. She's done some very large pieces. This is, I think, one of her smaller pieces, but I thought he was so cute. I just wanted to throw the ball for him. And he's just so pensive there, waiting for a treat, waiting for a ball. I really wasn't sure, but what a nice piece to put in your garden or by your front door to greet your guests.
Yes, yes. Very playful looking. I enjoy
Yes.
it. Okay, next.
Now this is a totem made by Mary Jane Kiskinen, and each individual piece is molded and fired and glazed, and then assembled into this totem.
Right, this is something new for her. She just bought the kiln to start working in this area. She's a very multi-talented artist. She works in all kinds of medium.
Yes.
So Shirley, what did you think?
Well, I happen to have met her also, and she is very diversified and a very excellent artist in whatever medium she decides to indulge her creative senses in. I really like this, and it was so funny because I kept being drawn to this piece, and she was standing there. She didn't divulge this was her piece, and so she was listening, and I didn't even pay attention to it, but I thought, this is so creative. I've seen so many totems. I'm assuming this is an outside piece, but this was so cool. I mean, she didn't just do round spheres or boxes or the shapes of rocks. It was just very well thought out and really well put together. And that would be one I would want in my own garden. So I really liked it.
Very nice
A lot.
piece. Very nice. Yeah. Okay, what's up next here? Special awards.
This is a judge's award.
That was my judge's award. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. Why don't I let you talk about this? This is another Howard Reese painting. It's a small oil, but just a lovely little scene.
Yes, it really is. Let me just quickly look at what I said. Well, it's New Hampshire, I believe, Portsmouth. I'm not saying it properly, I'm sure, but I just love the tranquility of this painting, and the background has the soft little bit of lost and found edges, which are really important in a painting. You don't want everything to be crystal clear like a camera when you paint. It gives the eye a place to rest. But the foreground is very well thought out. The composition draws you all the way in and then up and around, and the water does the rest. So the reflections are beautiful. There is a lot of detail to this, but you don't really know it unless you really look at it. It's very well done, and I just thought it was a very, very nice piece. Congratulations. Good job.
Yeah, okay. Where are we going here? Oh, I can say something about this. This is one of my photo buddies, Dan Souza. We travel a lot, and I can tell you about where this picture was taken. It was taken in outside of Banff in Canada. And I had talked him into going up there. I said, this is one of the most beautiful places in the world to take landscape photographs. And we got there, and the whole valley was filled with smoke from wildfires in Washington, Oregon, and California. And this was just before we left. It cleared enough to get a couple pictures. So, which makes for the colors that you see. The colors are courtesy of the wildfires on the West Coast. So, anyway.
This is a photograph?
Yes, it's a photograph, yeah.
Okay, and I'm sorry, who was the artist again?
Dan Souza.
Dan Souza.
Not John Souza. John Souza was one of the judges, and this was John's judge award. This is the one he picked as a judge's award.
Yes, that's right. Yes, he was a photographer, and we talked about this piece quite a bit because he just loved this piece, and I loved it too. But I just love the reflections, not only of the trees, but the sky and the mountains in the background, and the use of color. I'm not sure if this is, I'm assuming that he adjusted the colors in this.
Not too much.
Not too much. Wow.
No,
well, it's
maybe
very
in the
nice.
lake, but no, the sky colors, the colors in the background, those,
So
that's
beautiful.
what it looked like with the smoke from the
Wow.
wildfires coming
It's
through.
beautiful.
The sun shining through it. Yeah, it's very close to what it looked like.
That's a great photo.
Okay.
Very well balanced in
Yes.
composition.
Okay.
This is the mayor's award, and the mayor selected this not only as an award winner, but she also purchased it. So this is by Vicki Reed, and it's called Home Sweet Home, and it really is it's a very realistic oil painting, and it's kind of nostalgic. I think that there's a lot of her personal history in this, visible in this painting. So it was a very nice painting. In fact, several people, when I have been docenting, commented on it, and it's too bad it's already sold.
That's great. That's great.
Okay. And then another one here. We'll move quickly here till we get.
This
to
is
the
a
climax.
photograph by Crystal Lissek, and this was the People's Choice Award, and it's called Hitchcocked, and it's a fairly large print of a black and white image of just a silhouette of the bird. So I think partly the people who voted for it were, one, attracted because of the high contrast, and secondly, because of the name, the Hitchcocked reference to Alfred Hitchcock and the birds.
Okay, and now we are ready for the grand finale. Best in show. Let's bring Brad Hahn in here. Is he still online here? I hope. Brad, come on in here.
Well, like somebody else that was mentioned, I'm an engineer, and I'm a structural engineer, which is kind of crazy to be doing art as an engineer. But how it all occurred was Nancy took a class from Dan Peterson at the junior college, and she began to paint. And she'd do that on Saturday, and I'd just stand around watching her, and it wasn't very much fun. And we heard that Dan was going to be retiring, and he was a personal friend. We knew him from church, and so I said, I want to go ahead and take a class, and maybe I can do this. I don't know. I should show you the first painting I did. Then you probably wouldn't have given me an award. But I just love to explore and do things that are out of the norm for what medium I'm using. And in fact, I wouldn't have won this award, except that Dan Peterson passed away, and so he didn't enter the show. And I mentioned that at his funeral. I dedicated my best of show to the guy who taught me how to paint. Now, if you saw Dan Peterson's painting, they're like 180 degrees away from my painting. He's very meticulous and he spends 100 hours on his painting. I spent 5 hours on this one because it's more of a spontaneous thing. But he taught me, he was able to guide me where I was going rather than where he was as a painter. And we have so many sayings that we talk about, there's got to be an excuse for some red. If you don't know what to do, stop. Just a lot of sayings that he came up with that we use even as we paint now. But I wanted to do some things, like the background is watercolor paint right out of the tube with a palette knife. I wanted to create kind of a real exciting background, but yet show the colors. And so they kind of mix on the page. And I wanted to do something that was pretty sloppy because they're running in the mud. And actually, Dan told me not more than a year ago that I should start using some gesso to get some white in there. So I use gesso to make the splattering up on the horses. And if you get close to the body of the horses, it's incredibly messy and it's just shapes. But the hardest thing for me in painting is to know when to stop. And so this painting was one of those that there was a lot more going on. If you look closer, you can see a lot of drawing. There's other horses that I didn't even mess with because they didn't pull into the emotion of these horses on the home stretch in a derby race. And so that's kind of what I tried to evoke in this is movement and action, and tried to downplay the jockeys, although I did use some colors to kind of pull it out, but mostly about the horses in their struggle to win this race.
Wow. Impressive. I think everyone who saw this from day one was impressed.
Yeah.
So Shirley, obviously you were impressed.
Yes, I was very drawn to this. It's painted so differently. I was almost wondering if you had used Yupo paper because of the way that the paint was mixing on top of the surface. But I'm assuming you used, what kind of paper did you use on this one? Yeah.
It's canvas, and I, with a palette knife, put on a transparent ground, or not transparent, but absorbent ground. And so
you treated the canvas with something before you painted on it?
It's just like a gesso, but it soaks up a little bit of the watercolor, but it doesn't stay there. That's why if you look at the horses, it doesn't stay where it is. It goes where it goes, and kind of have to live with that.
It's not acting like normal watercolor paper.
Right.
So that's why I was wondering what kind of base you used on your paint. But I love the action on this. It's just so, and it's so painterly, if that's not a word that's being overused, but it doesn't really have a lot of definition, but it's got emotion and it's got action, and your eyes will kind of just say, oh, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? I really like that feeling of feeling like I was actually there witnessing the race. It's a very exciting painting, and like I said, it doesn't. You have a lot of more lost edges than found edges, but it really, really works, and I really loved it. I just kept going back to it. I thought, the more I saw it, the more I loved it. The more I saw it, the more I loved it. And I thought, this has got to be the winner. So really good job. Really good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Tony, Linda?
No, I think I liked it too, and I from a water media standpoint, Brad pulls out all the stops. He's got solids, and he's got color washes that lay right on top of the surface, and it's just an amazing piece.
Yeah, it's always, for me, it's really fun to break the rules, but you got to pull it off. Breaking the rules doesn't always work.
You definitely broke a few rules there.
Yeah.
It worked in this case. So congratulations to everyone, and thank you for all of our guests. My gosh, this was a very wonderful, informative show. It's like, thank you for joining us. Before we part, Linda, I'm not going to be here next week, but you're going to be doing the show next week. Can you say a little bit about who and what you're going to be doing?
Sure. Next week, I'll be talking to Tina Arnapol Driscoll. She's going to be talking about the congregation Beth Shalom, their annual Sunday performances. There's usually, 4 or 5. I believe California Zephyr is coming right up as their first feature. And she's also a local poet. So that's what's up next Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
All right. So again, thank you so much. It was very informative. It was very entertaining and wonderful. So see you around.
And congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. Yes.